Oh,
I think a lot of people think of that as value. And I guess it is to some degree, because you do get more hours for your membership where you can come in. If you're a first responder and you can't get in the gym in traditional hours, maybe you want to go up there at 10 p.m. when we're not running classes, and you can do that. And that's a nice thing to have, but I don't really view that as true value. I think value is when you are creating moments that matter for your affiliate members. Things that really mean something. Like I was watching our adaptive class come in yesterday, and I just wrapped up my workout and I'm dying. Like, I'm getting really old, and I'm just sitting there trying to get my life together. And I'm watching all these athletes come in, and our adaptive class is mostly people with developmental issues. So they've got Down syndrome or Tourette's, and we've got a couple that are blind, and like a lot of different things. And so they're all wildly different spectrums for all of them. But I'm watching them come in, and they're all interacting with each other, and they're laughing and giggling and smiling and hugging each other. And I watched a family member, I think it was a father of one of these young women. And he's like, all right, are you all set? And he like kissed her on top of the head and said, okay, have fun. I'll be back in an hour. And I could see in his face, like this was a moment that mattered for him, because his daughter was getting to do something that he probably never thought she'd be able to do. And he's getting a moment where he can go do whatever he needs to do without having to be a caregiver. And she's going to have a blast, and it's a win-win for them. It's a moment that matters. And so for me, that's the value of like, how do you create that within your community where you're changing people's lives and they want to be around each other? Like, that's the value of it. And what makes CrossFit so wildly different than Gold's Gym or, Planet Fitness or any of these traditional big box, or even like, maybe even makes us so different from like an Orange Theory or F45 or some of those. I don't know.
I think that's kind of why, to bring this whole thing full circle, when we started this conversation and you asked what truly makes up community, my mind kind of went immediately to what Ben has deemed like the micro community, because I feel like those moments happen in that hour of magic. And when we think back about like some of our favorite community stories that like we've had, John and you and I have had a lot of conversations about like some of the best stories that the media team has told over the years, or like where have been the real moments where we can like let the community shine and highlight the affiliates and the wonderful work they're doing. Like those stories are always about moments like that in a class, or like someone's first muscle up in a class, or like, I don't know. I just feel like they're like micro stories, and they're the ones that when we amplify them, we all feel the best about them, or they're those micro moments, or they're those. So that's kind of like why my brain went there first. I agree with everything else that we're saying too, by the way. And I think that there's even a greater level of community that we haven't touched as much upon when it comes to just the fact that we are all quote unquote CrossFitters. And what does that mean?
Right.
But I fully agree that I think that the magic really comes in sometimes things that you can't even see. And that's sometimes what makes it hard, right? It's like even the introverts or the people in class who aren't really talking, or you have to break them out of their shell. Like they might have had some sort of insane breakthrough that you don't even know about because they didn't even tell you, but they like went home and like, I don't know, like played with their kids on the ground for the first time without being in pain. And that is like such a huge win that we feel so strongly about as coaches and owners. And it's just so tiny, but it's not. It's massive.
Well, I think a lot of it comes from the coaches. I'd be curious, Ben, to hear from you around how you get your coaches so good at this, because I do think that's the one thing I consistently hear from WOD preppers, if that's what you refer to them as. Sure. Is that they'll say CJ's great at this, or Savannah's great at this, or whoever is coaching them, and they rave about their individual coaching. Hell, when Ben and I were in Madison together, you can't even make this up, Nikki. This is like embarrassing. We're on the sidewalk in downtown Madison, and somebody drives past in a pickup truck, leans out the window and goes, "You got me my first muscle up."
Get out.
Swear to God, you can't make that up. You cannot make that up.
That's a movie moment.
But what's cool about that is like, that's the point, is like people think about their coaches as this person helped me achieve X. whatever that is, and they never forget that. And it takes a special person to be able to deliver on that. How do you get your coaches so good at that?
I mean, one, I truly think I got really lucky with some of the initial coaches that I hired, but in the hiring process,